Like, I'm with you. He does not look the part.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's no when they're on the court at the same time. There's no less athletic, good backcourt than Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet. I mean, they look like if we went down to the gym and those two guys showed up, you'd be like, oh, we can run with them. It's foolish, but I mean, VanVleet, he's goofier looking than Kyle Lowry, he's just such a great. I mean, you're just stunned. You're like, he can't do that, and then he goes for he makes 4 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. What a great! I mean, that's so great. I mean, but he's the most unlikely. He's like what's his name? Mo Salah, the guy for Liverpool.
Mohamed Salah.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like not athletic in any way, shape, or form, and he's a blur out there. I mean, he really is athletic, but he looks like a guy that you're supposed to be bartering with, over carpeting. Instead, he's one of the best soccer players in the world. So every time I think of him, I almost say Mo Bamba.
Yeah,
every time.
Listen. I think that also contributes to where you're at. Is
sure
that they don't necessarily really look the part. Marc Gasol's never looked the part.
No,
Marc Gasol,
he's a fine player,
a tremendous player. Yeah, and then
he looks even less athletic than he is, which isn't very athletic. But he's still a very good player. I mean,
but I think in years to come, Siakam, like right now, he's just a guy because no one's really heard of him. They've not watched him on the biggest stages. But if if Kawhi Leonard stays, and they're back in the finals again next year, Siakam's going to elevate to Draymond Green and Klay Thompson status. I mean,
I
think he's that kind of player.
He also looks like somebody who's a ticking time bomb physically also.
He's more explosive. He's slightly built.
Yeah,
yes, from that standpoint,
to say the least.
He is very lean and slightly built. Kevin Durant's just so gangly. I mean, he in a way, he looks like the thing blowing at the car dealership to tell you to come on by. Right. The waving arms.
Yes, tube man.
Yeah. That's how
Wacky,
he looks.
Waving,
Siakam looks like he ought to be in a high jump competition. Right, he reminds me of those long, tall guys, big strider.
He can certainly finish.
He looks like Andrew Wiggins.
Right.
And he's a similar type of athlete. I think you see the difference between guys who won it and a guy who's just. And listen, I'm not running down the human being, Andrew Wiggins, but he is not like get up going, how am I going to win today? Man, we got to figure out a way to beat these guys.
He might be the most overpaid player in the history of sports.
All of them reside in the NBA, so you really only need to look through the NBA.
Right. I mean, because he got the second contract. He's making $20 million, I think.
Oh, it was a max contract.
Yeah. I mean, jeez Louise. I mean, he made me look great because I always said he's going to be the third best player on a good team. The only problem is he's on a crappy team. I almost used the S word there. That would have been really unleashed. I mean, that's pathetic. And remember when Bill, probably the dumbest thing Bill Self's ever said, and he doesn't say many dumb things, is that he was an alpha dog.
Oh, my God.
Is there anybody the absolute opposite?
Dude.
He wasn't an alpha dog at KU, and he's not even an alpha mouse in the NBA.
100%. That is the one thing that, when they got that commitment, he's like, well, and he's an alpha dog. And I'm like,
Well, we didn't know.
You're right. We took
his word
he probably
was.
Well, and that's why I like if I were to subtitle his year at Kansas, it was Unleash the Fury, right? Like you just kept you'd see him. There was one time on a break where he came down and he was literally like one bounce. He has Giannis's Greek Freak's athleticism, right? He's not as big,
right?
As big. Number one, Giannis is invested in that.
And
I don't think Wiggins ever invests in getting in the weights.
He looks like the product of an Olympic long jumper and an
NBA basketball player,
which is what he is.
Yes, which is what he is. But you would see him come down athletically, and it's like one bounce, and he's all the way to the rim. And, he'd get on the breakaway. It's like, okay, it's showtime, and then just dink. Just like.
And I've never seen a more pathetic effort than his closeout in the NCAA tournament. I mean, I think he took, 6 shots?
Oh,
you can't go out.
In Stanford, that was Stanford, right?
Yeah, you can't go out like that.
With no Embiid.
I was courtside at that game. I'm like, he's not even trying. I mean, it's like this is he sort of got a few minutes into the game and like, well, they got some long defenders out there. I think I'm just going to pack it in for the night.
I'm going number one
yeah,
in a month.
Pack it in for the
2 months.
Season. Yeah, I got
good.
millions waiting, and then 20 million per a couple of years down the line if I just stay upright.
By
the way, it's, the We the North thing came out. It was for the Raptors' 20th anniversary back in 2014, and it was just a marketing campaign, an ad campaign. Sid Lee in Toronto came up with it. They said they wanted to brand not just Toronto basketball, but Canadian basketball. They call it the North. We the North came of that. It was just no reference to any TV show or any past slogan. That was what they came up with.
Yeah, well, good job out of the marketing crew of the Raptors.
Right. I mean, people have embraced it. The
I like
people are copying it.
Well, I don't.
You're seeing We the South things coming out of the
From
out
where?
of the South. I just saw an
I
article.
don't mind the North. The North embracing that, but just say we're the North.
That's not cool.
You know, it's to me a real slogan.
I like it. I think you're a clown.
Well, I can be,
but that's
I also
been that way for years.
But also, I don't think they should put it on their uniform. I'll say
that's
that.
the thing now.
No.
That's one of my. Actually, I'm not a big fan of
would
the
you be
ultimate
happy
uniform, but I
if the
kind of
Royals
like the
would be
Raptors.
happy if the Royals ran out there in boys in blue across the front of their jersey?
NBA seems to be a different.
I'd be
vibe.
fine. I mean, the NBA is different.
Everyone's doing it
baseball, and by the way, that's why baseball's attendance is going down the toilet, and the NBA is skyrocketing.
Although sometimes I can't
Baseball's
tell who's
filled with a bunch of tired farts like you, and the NBA is young and hip.
I'm unleashed. What are you talking about?
Sometimes I'll turn on an
Screw
NBA
that.
game and I can't tell who's playing. I was like, what is that? Like,
Yeah, but I don't even mind if it's an alternate uniform that they would wear like every so often. What they wear at half the three? Is it their
three
role
times in the
uniform?
finals,
I don't care how many uniforms you got as long as they're good, right? And that one, I don't like when they change colors. Like, what
Right.
the hell is your colors?
Right. Well,
You
that's
know,
another
stick
part
to
of
your
it
colors.
too. I mean, Right.
But like, if it's a good uniform, I'm fine with it. I don't care.
The funny,
Listen, you know me. I think the best Royals uniform is the one when was the Mike Sweeney sleeveless, no stripe on the pants, black with the black undertone. I think that's by far the best uniform the Royals have ever had, and everybody hates it. You want to know why? Because they lost.
Right.
They can wear pink in 85 and 15, and everybody be like, the pink ones are great. What are you talking about?
I think
love
the
way
funniest
sun
part of the love
shines
of the
off
powder
them.
blues is because they were good when
the
they
funniest
wore those.
color I think that is totally embraced comes from soccer as well is the Netherlands wears orange.
Well, Italy wears blue.
But the Netherlands wears orange, which isn't even in their flag.
Blue's not in the Italian flag. Red, white, and green.
Oh, yeah.
And does Italy wear blue?
Yes, they wear blue.
Well, that doesn't.
I don't get it.
I was watching the women's game the other day.
And by the way, save
I'm
yourself the tweet. I know there's a reason. I just don't care. I don't get it.
I'm sure there's a reason for the Netherlands wearing orange too.
Yes, and I just.
But I was looking at the
it.
flag and I said, "Isn't that flag red?"
Yeah.
Because somebody had a little flag, so it's kind of hard to see the color. And so I'm like, I wonder why. Because I like the orange. I think orange is underused in uniforms.
I want to take a break. Want to get Jet off my back, too. I want to get to some Royal stuff. I also want to get to your thoughts on the 13-0 drubbing that was handed out by the U.S. women's national team. Not just the drubbing, but also the reaction to the drubbing. We'll do that next here in the program.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made Are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Let's move on to a happy subject like the Royals.
First, I want the 13-0.
Oh, okay. It's hard to pull back the reins in a soccer game. I mean, you can put your 3 subs in, but they're good. They're better than anybody they've got. And what are you going to do? Get in front of an empty net and miss?
So this is where.
Now, I don't think there was any reason for Lloyd to count her goals, or Morgan to count her goals on her fingers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, just be a little more. You're humiliating the other team. There's no real reason to.
So you do think their behavior was out of line?
I think their celebrations were a little bit out of line. The 13, I don't have any issue with. Now, people are saying goal differential matters. Oh, I mean, 11 probably was good enough.
If Thailand, probably, but coaches get fired because probably we're ready.
No. I mean, how are they possibly going to come down to goal differential in that group?
I have no. Well, I agree from that standpoint, but I listen. I have no.
That was the defense I saw online over and over. Goal differential. I'm like, baloney. Getting out of the group.
I have no problem whatsoever with anybody running up the score. I've said that forever.
I agree, and I think in soccer, it's just almost impossible unless you're just going to kick the ball around in your own end.
From my original stance the day after, I've now seen all 13 goals and all 13 reactions, and there were a couple of them that I must have missed along the way. Then I'm like, okay, I see a little bit more where it's coming from. My bigger issue is sports is becoming. And this is one of the things, because I got into sports as opposed to news and politics, because I don't want to report on people getting hurt. Okay, I have no stomach for that. I can't do it. All right, so I appreciate the news people that do, because it's hard, and I don't want to report a story about people, a child being hurt. I can't do it. I just physically can't do it. And politics, the incompetence of the arguments, I can't stomach that. Like, I want to slap them all. So I can't do that either, right?
Right.
But so I like sports for the most part. Sports. This is where we come in here and it's just about the game and the coaching and the winning and the losing and all that. That was a nice place. But now I listen to one national guy, right, about it, and I've heard this a couple of times. Every sports take, for lack of a better term, is tinged with a political overtone, right? Oh. The American women were completely out of line in the celebrations, and, because there's always somebody that's not going to like it. So you find the one guy who doesn't, and everybody says to me, and then it comes down to, you want me to treat women equally, then this is what you get. They're completely out of line. If it were the men, we'd be all over them. It's like, that has nothing to do, like, if you're treating them equally, no men's reaction would get well, you want me to treat them equally? When those words come out of your mouth, you're already not treating the same as you would a men's event, because no reaction you would have to men's sports. At no point in talking about the Raptors or Kawhi Leonard or the Warriors or the Royals or Nicky Lopez's homer did anybody preface what they're saying with, well, because I'm going to treat the men equally, this is what I'm saying. It's I wanted to punch this guy in the face, and I can only hear him.
My whole real thought process of a 13-0 game is that make the tournament smaller. You can't let somebody in to a so-called World Cup that is capable of getting beaten 13-0.
I think if you want the event bigger, you're going to have growing pains, and that match was a growing pain for having a bigger tournament. But I think Thailand now knows where they got to go, and they'll be a better soccer club for it in the future.
Well, and Danny, you're talking about limiting the field. What about for the men's game where they're expanding the field? That's one of the only ways that the U.S. might actually get into the next upcoming World Cup.
Well, I don't think they should expand the field. I think it's plenty big. So if we don't get in because of that, the hard cheese. Get better.
Spoken like such a Frenchman.
Such a Danny, too, with all the different cheeses he eats. Which are the harder cheeses, by the way, Danny? Could you enlighten us on that? You fig-eating
I do eat a lot of cheese, I'll say that. But I'm bad at the names of the cheese because I like just about every cheese except American cheese, which is like one of the worst products in the history of food. So let's